Hey, Dennis here. I want to welcome you back to the channel, and this is Wednesday. And I think I'm going to call this We Learn Wednesday. You know, I'm a big believer in journeying together, and so I believe that I can learn as much from you as you can from me, and this has always sort of been my approach to life in general. And when I share, when you share, we're all elevated by that experience. So when I say we learn, that's exactly what happens. And well, also teaching is learning, right? I mean, every time you talk about what you do, it actually helps you solidify what you do. So that's kind of why doing this actually on Wednesdays is hopefully helpful for some of you, but definitely extremely helpful for me. And tonight we're going to actually, last week we sort of defined, if you remember, we did this one here, and so we've added some definition into some of these tree lines, and so now I think this would be a good time because when you're out there painting things from a distance, eventually you're going to get up the courage to actually approach a tree up and personal and paint it close up. Now, my friend Richard Jordan is, I consider him an expert in this field, and every time I paint with him and he's painting trees, I'm painting trees, and just watching his process and how he approaches it, he just took it to a whole new level. I mean, he doesn't just paint the tree in front of him. He understands what's happening with the tree. He knows, and when he talks about it, it's just amazing. I mean, as the tree ages, what happens with the branches, and how can you tell when a tree is approaching the end of its life, and all these things. I mean, he just really completely understands how they work, and definitely understands how to paint them. So as a matter of fact, I'm going to show you one of his paintings right here, which I think is just phenomenal. And in this particular painting, I'm super jealous because he is actually experimenting with David Curtis's complete palette. So all the colors that David Curtis uses on his palette, Richard put them in this one and did this painting. It's really cool. But my goal always is to show you what I know, and so I'm gonna show you how I approach trees, and maybe I can pick something up from myself along the way. All right, let's do it. All right, so I actually scraped this tree out because this is hard to believe, but maybe not so hard to believe. I taped it all the way through, and unfortunately I didn't realize that the camera was in a different position than I normally position it, and it was completely in glare, so you couldn't even see what I was doing. So anyway, I got to do this over. No big deal. I'll probably get it better the second time anyway. So all right, so let's start with the darkest side of the tree first, and I'm just going to mix kind of maybe the darkest thing I can. I'm going to use some alizarin crimson and some ultramarine blue, and then I'm just going to put a little bit of warmth in it with some cad yellow deep, and that'll just warm it up just a bit. So I'm just going to lay this into this dark side of the tree here, and kind of out into this trunk area, and we'll do the same up here. All right. And after I do the kind of the darkest thing, I can see the shadow side of the tree, actually. Then I go in and I'm going to mix a kind of an orange. I'll get some cad orange and I'll mix some ultramarine blue with that, and I'm just going for a nice gray here. So, and that's a really nice earthy gray right there. And I'm going to take this to a really light value, put a little warmth in it again with the cad yellow deep there, and then maybe just get a touch more blue. Kind of want to gray it and green it a little bit at the same time. So, and then we'll lighten this up just like that. And then we'll go into the kind of the highlighted side of the tree. You'll get maybe a root coming straight off here, and that'll probably be, I've got a branch right there. All right, and then we're going to pick a mid-tone, something in between the two, which I can just sort of mix some of this together, and I can kind of get that mid-tone. It's going to fall right in here, and this is going to be the transition area from the dark side of the tree to the shadow side of the tree to the highlighted area. Okay. And then we'll just put a couple of branches in here, a couple major branches to start with. And one of the things to think about is, as the light's coming from over here, and this is our light source, the branches that are directly on your side of the tree, let's say, they're completely in shadow because the light is on the other side of them, based on the way our light is here. And the branches that are away from you are actually receiving the light, so they're going to be in a much lighter value. And then the ones that are kind of in between will be a little bit of both. So again, let's mix something really dark. So alizarin crimson. That, and we'll warm that up just a little bit with some cad orange, that nice dark gray. And so this branch here, it's going to be very dark because it's completely, completely in shadow. So and then we'll get a lighter value of that. And so this branch that's maybe off in the background here, is actually going to be in the light, so we're going to get a nice light value here. This is going to go to dark here, so get my dark back. So that here, And then we'll just take some of this again, and we'll just go over top of this, that tree, that branches back behind here completely. So okay, and then the darkest thing we can mix typically down around where the ground grows, and where the grass and dirt and kind of all that lays in here. You can just come in and drop a little bit of that underneath there. There's going to be probably some up in here. And then a little lighter value of that maybe in here. And just for fun, I'm going to just blue that just a little bit back here. And I'll just drag some of that up into here. Okay, and then the next step is to come in and actually strengthen the highlights on the lit side of the tree. So just to review, we had the darkest side, which is the shadow side, and you know, the thing to remember is don't be afraid to go dark here. Don't, because it's a normal tendency to shy away from getting the shadow side dark enough. You can always lighten it. So like I said recently, you don't really know where too far is until you've actually gone there. So so make sure you know where those boundaries are, and don't be afraid to have a nice dark side of the tree there. So okay, so now we'll take that same kind of yellow, blue, and some orange, and we'll get a nice highlighted color here, some titanium white. And that's pretty chalky, so we want to get some more color added back into that. Put some blue and some yellow. And we'll just check that color out. That's pretty good. Pretty green actually, so we're gonna take some orange into that, get this back on the gray side, and just a touch of ultramarine in there. And then we'll lighten that up. All right. And then just as a last step, and again, I really encourage you to practice this before you go out outdoors and paint, because it'll just make everything so much easier for you when you don't have to think about these things while you're standing there facing the forest, so to speak. So but I would, as a last step, I would come in here and on the shadow side of the tree, instead of just ending it, you know, with a kind of a hard black line, this blue color that we had, there's a lot of reflected light that happens just as it goes kind of around the corner. So you can come in with a nice blue color. And again, this is just you can do it with really any color that you think the forest might be reflecting, and it might be this orange color or whatever, but you can come in and just right on the edge hit a little bit of this this blue, where it's just reflecting some light back from what's around it, and it turns out quite nice. And I'm just going to do one more thing, just because I can't lay off of it. Just going to come right in here and just strengthen this up a little bit. Okay. So you want to just remember, even if your tree comes in here and there's grasses and things and you can't see where the roots are going into the ground, it adds so much to a tree when you can actually show some of that. It just anchors it to the ground and gives it just makes it seem so much more substantial than just having it look like something was plopped into the ground. All right, cool. All right, so thanks for checking out my video, and if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and share it with somebody if you like. And that little bell that's right there, if you click that, you'll get a notification for every time I post, and you won't miss any of these. And I'll catch you later.